We often say in our commercials, this is who we are. Well, this is where we are as a country. We mentioned this earlier. We do want to take a closer look now at the state that in the course of 4 months has displaced New York as the epicenter of the coronavirus pandemic, and that would be Florida. Today, Florida reported a record-breaking 132 deaths in just one day, highest single-day total in the state since the beginning of this pandemic. And with Miami now emerging as the next epicenter, Republican Governor Ron DeSantis has come under increasing criticism for his handling or mishandling of this pandemic after months of downplaying the severity of this crisis.
We welcome to the broadcast five-term U.S. Democratic Congressman Ted Deutch of Florida. His district includes parts of Broward and Palm Beach counties, areas that have been hard hit by the coronavirus. Congressman, first, how are you and how is your district?
I'm doing okay. We're doing fine, and we can't really complain because we're able to try to stay out of the midst of this, even as we try to fight it. But for the people of Florida who have no choice but to go to work in this environment, for the people who are mourning, 132 families and who are mourning the loss of their loved ones to this terrible virus, the 80 people per day on average who are dying over the past week, it's terrible. And we need leadership, and we need positive direction, and the governor keeps giving us excuses and excuses. He refuses to do what's necessary to help save lives here in Florida.
I want to read you something in the Wall Street Journal about lockdowns. The Wall Street Journal writes this: strict lockdowns slam the brakes on exponentially growing virus outbreaks. Countries that locked down quickly suffered fewer deaths than countries that acted late. Timing is also proving crucial in lifting lockdowns. Infections are accelerating in countries that reopened before they had suppressed the first wave. Above all, some countries use the weeks of lockdown better than others to develop less drastic, more sophisticated ways to fight the virus. Brian made the point earlier in the hour that if Florida were a country, it would have among the highest rates of infections right now. Should Florida as a state return to strict lockdowns?
Well, we may have to, Nicole. We may have to, but there are lots of things that the governor ought to be doing right now if we're going to have any chance of perhaps avoiding that. The doctors will tell you, the epidemiologists will tell you that this disease, this virus operates in 2-week increments. And so all of these cases, 15,000 in a day, 10,000, 13,000 in a day, it's going to take 2 weeks before we really feel the pain from these. Now, we didn't have to be here. The governor hasn't taken any action to require masks. He hasn't taken the kinds of action that would make tracing effective. He refuses to talk about the increasing number of deaths. And if he's not going to do anything, then he's going to wind up forcing a shutdown, at least in the hot spots in this state, in order to give us a chance to get this under control. But it's up to him. The ball's in his court. He can't simply go out and have press conferences and not bring the public health officials, not bring the Surgeon General, refuse to listen to them, just as the president refuses to listen to Dr. Fauci. We need to listen to the public health experts. We need to crack down hard on anyone not wearing masks, on businesses who aren't complying with regulations, and we need all of this imposed statewide. That's the only way to prevent it. But at this rate, the governor has shown no inclination to provide the leadership necessary to avoid that. So ultimately, and ironically, he's likely to be the one who causes the state to shut down again anyway.
Congressman, I'm tempted to say, how did this happen? But I'll answer my own question. We watched it happen. We kind of knew it was going to happen. In the jet age, Florida is downstate New York. It is where gatherings happen. It is home to theme parks. It has a ton of migrant workers. It has a ton of at-risk residents. It's Florida. And we knew at the peak of the pandemic in the north and east that this wouldn't be limited to the north and east. And here we are.
Well, we did know, Brian. And the saddest part about the moment that we face now is that we didn't have to. We knew what was going to happen. We know that people visit Florida from all over the country. We know the numbers that come from New York. We know the numbers that come from all around the world. We understand how this works. And we had the lockdown so that we could get control of it. The governor didn't want to lock down, but ultimately he had no choice. But we didn't use that time to prepare for this moment. We didn't use that time to put a plan in place to be able to trace new cases or to give businesses the kind of guidance that they needed to open safely. The failure to shut down sooner, followed by the failure to use that time to help prevent where we are now, is what led us here. And you're right, it was absolutely clear that this was going to be where we wound up if there wasn't leadership. And sadly, the governor has failed to provide that leadership. And the effort to tie himself to President Trump, the refusal to tell anyone what he thinks should be done, to leave it up to mayors to make decisions with one city right next to another city, dozens of cities, all with different rules, makes it so much harder for us to have one focused way to try to stay safe. That's why we need leadership. That's what a governor is supposed to provide, and he just hasn't done it.
Congressman Ted Deutch of Florida, thank you very much for spending part of your day with us. We appreciate you being a part of our live conversation. Another break for our coverage when we